In this episode of the Hospo Dojo podcast, I sit down with Kirsten Tibballs, one of Australia's most celebrated pastry chefs and chocolatiers. She's judged international competitions, represented Australia at the World Pastry Cup, founded the iconic Savour School, and inspired millions as the host of the Chocolate Queen. Kirsten opens up about her journey from a shy apprentice to a global ambassador for chocolate. We dive into her creative process, the discipline behind her craft, and what it really takes to stand out in the high-stakes world of pastry. This episode is proudly brought to you by Food and Hospitality Week, a major event in Australia's hospitality calendar connecting 15,000 chefs, owners and industry professionals every year. Kirsten, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
No, thank you. I feel blessed to be in your presence. You've done some amazing things over the years. Watching you on MasterChef and take over the world in chocolate. It's phenomenal to, I always try to surround myself with people with, expanded knowledge and experience, because you can't beat experience, right? Years and years of practice.
A lot of years, yeah.
A lot of years, a lot of hard times in the kitchen. And I always find that, those that sharpen their knives the longest always have those 1%ers that you can take away with you. So hopefully today we can get that out of you. I'm sure we will.
Absolutely.
Oh, beautiful. Kirsten, where did your love for chocolate begin?
I think the versatility of chocolate became apparent quite early on in my career. Not only does it make people happy, people love it, but it can be used as an ingredient, but it can also be used as a medium for sculpture and artistry and garnishes and things like that. So, yeah, I think it was the versatility.
And what was it in you that said, I want to go into pastry, I want to be a chocolatier, I want to go into that world?
I was actually unwell as a teenager, so I didn't go to high school. So when I was well enough, I was 15, so I was old enough to start an apprenticeship, and I loved baking and cooking. So not having really a high school education, but loving that aspect and artistry and creativity, I started as soon as I physically could.
Oh, that's amazing. And when there must have been a moment in your early career when you started that you got that aha moment where you're like, oh, this can be something for life.
I started a chef's apprenticeship actually, and I didn't get that aha moment. I thought, oh, no, maybe I've chosen the wrong pathway. So I actually left the chef's apprenticeship.
And what was that feel? What was that? What do you think got
I
you
just
there?
felt that it was more about bulk production, and there wasn't. I apologise to all chefs.
No. Everyone has their own experiences.
There wasn't. I was peeling potatoes and washing herbs, and which I think are base things an apprentice should learn. But for me, I felt that I was really good at piping. I'd been decorating and selling cakes for many years at that stage. So I thought, no, this isn't for me. No. I don't want to be cutting meat. I don't want to be cutting fish. So I left there and then decided to specialise and go into patisserie.
There are a lot of people out there that struggle to take that step where they feel like the journey that they've stepped on is the only way they can move forward in life. They feel like they can't pivot. What was that inkling that made you pivot, or where did you find that strength to pivot?
I think I knew pretty much. I wasn't a long period as a chef's apprentice. It was a matter of weeks, and I thought,
wow,
no, this isn't the right pathway. So I guess at that age, you don't have anything to hold me down or anything like that, or probably the responsibilities at the age of 15 that a lot of adults have to consider if they're looking at a career change. So, and it wasn't a complete career change. It was sort of a side step, if you like.
Yeah, amazing. And where was your first, apprenticeship? Where were you based first?
I did an apprenticeship at Schrader's Patisserie, and I stayed there for the duration of the apprenticeship, but it was a pretty hard slog. It was many days starting at 2 a.m. till 10 p.m, very little sleep, often 6 days a week. So for most people today, that's highly illegal, but also a lot of people won't put that effort into, a career path. But I was loving what I was doing. So, and I was learning constantly and was given a big responsibility right from the start. So, unlike where I started my chef's apprenticeship, I felt that I would have been chopping and, cutting and washing for a very long period of time before I was able to progress into anything else. Where with the patisserie apprenticeship, I could basically straight away, I had, big responsibilities and I learned very quickly on the job.
And fast forward now, you're dubbed the Queen of Chocolate, and you founded an amazing school called the Savour Chocolate and Patisserie School. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And when was that founded?
In 2002.
Wow.
So quite a long while ago. So it's 23 years old this year, which I think the success of the business has been being nimble and adapting and changing to what people want, because what the school started as and what it is today are two very different things.
And what do you find? Well, obviously, like in 23 years of business, you've adapted to the times and you've moved with what's worked. But what's amazing is that you've been able to hold that brand the entire time. You haven't pivoted from that. Where a lot of people just burn it and try start again, and burn it and try start again. It's a common thing in hospitality.
Yeah, I think it is. And I did consider expanding at one stage because we were just running 7 days a week, days and nights. I'm glad I didn't, because I feel that I have more flexibility by just keeping the one site. But I was able to expand the business by starting Savour online classes, which was a platform where we filmed one online class and released it every week. And we still do today, 13 years later.
Wow.
That really allowed us to tap into a global audience, but also people who were time poor or money poor or couldn't physically come to do classes. It enabled them to learn from me, and now we've got 600 classes. We still add one recipe every week. So if people subscribe, and it's not expensive, they instantly access everything, and I still personally answer all the questions. So
That's amazing. How many students have you helped over your years? Do you have a number?
Thousands and thousands.
That's phenomenal.
So many have opened businesses right across the world, but yeah, many, many people.
That's such an inspiration. Like for me, a lot of people might not be able to relate, but for me, I've been on this journey as a food service consultant where I help people in their businesses, and I design their amazing kitchens to help them better flow. And I found the same problem as you, where people can't always afford a consultant. So we started a platform called Hospo Dojo, and that's to help sharpen the knives of young entrepreneurs to make the right decisions when they're starting their business. So whether they want to sign a lease or get into a partnership, what those agreements look like, right? From a business standpoint, and what challenges they could face and their roadmap moving forward. So we had the idea of going online and doing courses online, and we've probably launched about 20 courses now, and it's challenging. It's very challenging. And for you to be able to do that week in, week out for 13 years, my gosh, that's phenomenal. Honestly, like hands down, there's more to, people don't realize how much work goes behind the camera. And
No, I have a team of 4 full-time people that are from copywriters to photographers to videographers, editors, pastry chefs that, I write the recipe, we test and test and test, because that's the other thing people don't realise is that when you're guiding people or giving them advice, I need to ensure that I'm giving you the world's best recipe in that area and that I've thoroughly tested it. I can tell you where the, weaknesses are, where you have to be careful and what to look out for. But we do all that. We can test a recipe 30 times before it's filmed.
That's amazing. You should be I know sometimes we get desensitized, but sometimes I learnt this from Morgan McLone, who's a chef who started Bell's Fried Chicken, and he said, Paul, if there's one thing that I could teach you on your journey, is just to stop, take a breath, and just embrace the moment that you've done. And we forget to do that over the time. So, today before you get on stage and start judging, just stop and take a breath and go, look at all the amazing work that I've done. So I hope you get that moment sometime today.
Thank you. I do think you, when you get to that pinnacle or that critical point in your career, it's almost like being a hamster on the wheel. That if you step off the wheel, people are like, oh, Kirsten, who? And I think when you're in the constant innovation development stage, you create some of your best work that you ever will. So for me, it's very few breaks, and it's quite intense work, but, I enjoy it.
That's amazing. Where do you draw your inspiration from your most beautiful designs?
I draw them, so I try not to be inspired by other chefs or other people's work. I try to either be inspired by real life things or from nature itself. So probably different to what most people do. I look at what the visual aspect looks like, and then I know with my skill set I can add and make that into anything in terms of flavour and texture. But how it looks and how we sell and market what we do, I work with many different companies and create concepts for them. You have to draw people in within, you've only got 3 seconds, so that product has to look sensational. So yeah, I'll draw lots of pictures and develop, and then I'll allocate the different textures, flavours, elements to that recipe.
That's amazing. And what do you think is one misconception people have about working with chocolate?
I think people think it's hard to temper, and that it can be difficult to work with. I think if you work with a good quality chocolate, it can be an amazing experience and really enjoyable. There is, like in most ingredients, you can get your, beautiful chocolates that melt perfectly, and then you've got your chocolates that are cheaper that have very little fat and that are thick and viscous and absorb moisture because of the amount of sugar in them. And can be very challenging to work with.
Look out for the fat content.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And you've mentored chefs globally now. What are the qualities you think great pastry chefs share?
I think that they have a need to learn, and I think we learn from mistakes and we learn from testing and development, and we don't learn from copying. You can try someone else's recipe, but I think that successful people are people who are passionate, and they don't work 8 hours. They work 12 plus.
That's big. And everyone that I've sat in the room with who is successful has always said that to me. Yes, they always scream about work-life balance and making sure your health comes first, but there's no forgiving when it takes the reps in order to get something done right. Like, you can't just you can't do something overnight. You need to do the hours.
Yeah.
It's a part of it.
It needs to be a natural extension of yourself, almost what you're doing, a technique. You need to have done it enough that it flows through your body
muscle
into
memory.
the food.
Yeah, muscle memory, 1000%. And doing it with your heart and soul.
Yes,
if you don't
absolutely.
passionately love it, then it's not for you, right?
And I think what people forget is that, especially in today's society, people invest in you. They're investing in, for me, it's a recipe. So they would then buy equipment and ingredients to recreate that recipe. But it's the same if you go to a patisserie or a restaurant. People are investing in you, and you have a big responsibility to then give them the best possible experience with your food. And you need to put whatever you can into that food to ensure that happens.
If there's a pastry chef listening to this podcast right now, and the young pastry chef that you were once upon a time, when you were first early on in your career, you're still quite young now, but I meant early on in your career. So please don't take that in the wrong way. I meant just early on in your career. What's one piece of advice you'd give them if they're at that standpoint in that, they're about to, it's like, when you're chipping away at the iceberg, as they say, and it's just right there. and they're just chipping, and they're not seeing anything fruitful, what's one piece of advice you'd give them?
You have to continually learn to evolve. If you stop learning, you need to change career paths. I think that's the most important thing. A lot of people almost have a sense of entitlement and they have a closed mind that the way they're doing something is the best way. But you should always try an alternate method of doing something and then work out what's the best way, or, you know, put the two together, create a hybrid, because everything we do, if I look what I was doing at the start of my career, which is over 30 years ago, and what I'm doing now, that's evolved and changed so much. Where if I was stuck in my ways and wasn't open to learning, I would have been well and truly left behind.
That's powerful. That is so powerful. Now, looking forward for you, what's your next big ambition? What haven't you done yet?
I have my own TV show, The Chocolate Queen. I've written 3 cookbooks, 1 professional, 2 for chocolate inspiration, non-professional books. I think for me, I have a farm, so the next big thing for me is to look at growing and producing as much of my own produce as I can and becoming more seasonal. I'm building a kitchen there that is, the property's 100% off-grid, so we catch our own water, we process our own waste, we produce our own electricity, so we're independent. But I really like the idea of that and focusing on ingredients that are sustainable and seeing that how I can evolve with that. I still love what I do, the creativity, the television, you know, the radio. I'll probably still keep doing cookbooks, but I think that that is an area of the future of food, really. We need to look at how it grows, best practice, what is seasonal, and just work with seasonal produce rather than importing something from Mexico or California because we want to use something that's not in season. So that is something that I'd really like to focus on.
That's amazing. And while you're on that journey and building that kitchen, I would love to honestly just, if you ever needed any help or just input on design, you could just literally, we'll give you access to our number and my email, and I'd love to jump on a workshop and just give some help. I would really love to.
We've been building it, would you believe, for 4.5 years.
I believe you.
And we're actually in the final stages.
Final stages? Where is it? You don't have to.
It's in the Yarra Valley.
Okay.
So it's in the Yarra Valley on 126 acres. It's absolutely, you know, it inspires me to go there and be there. You know, and I imagine we just built yesterday a beehive and put that together, you know, and we'll have a chicken coop, and doing all of this really makes me happy. And I think that is what people need to consider. Going forward, it's going to become probably one of the biggest considerations when developing recipes and food.
That's so amazing. I would love to visit.
You would be welcome anytime.
Thank you so much. And we'd love to bring you a welcoming gift and an opening gift for your kitchen. So it's been a pleasure to have you here. I know you're on a tight schedule and you managed to fit us in. You're an inspiration to many people. You've certainly inspired me. I'm even tearing up now with all the amazing stuff you said, and I'm just like tuning in and absorbing so many things. So thank you so much for your time, your energy, your passion for the industry, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for you.
Thanks for having me on, Paul.
Thank you.